A Dance with Dragons. Now, some time ago, I said, I'm gonna buy the books and read them when George finishes the series. It looks like that's not gonna happen anymore. Unfortunately, uh, at this point, it looks like maybe that even Winds of Winter isn't gonna be published. But anyway, let's get to it. This book was so long that I probably forgot a couple of things, especially the beginning. And I'm gonna have to say this: there is no way that George can wrap things up in two books. It's just not possible. There are too many plot lines, too many threads, too many pieces on the chessboard, and the biggest one of all, the others haven't even shown up yet, right? There's just no way that everything can be resolved in some way or another in two books. It's impossible. I'm gonna have to say what I personally don't like, which is certain characters and their POV chapters. You know, I said it in my other reviews. I can't stand the Greyjoys. The Greyjoys are dull. You know, we get Asha Greyjoy's POV. She gets captured by Stannis. She's a prisoner. She's going to Winterfell. A blizzard strikes, and that's about it. To me, her chapters are dull. It's a waste of time. We don't need it. Okay? Preferably, we should have gotten Stannis POV chapters. But anyway, another one. Victarion. Yet again, to me, it is a waste of time. He is bland. I'll have to say this though: the fact that he and Makoro team up was unexpected. That's a positive. It got me a bit interested, but overall, yet again, Victarion's chapters are a bit bland. And whatever happened to Euron? Because I've been reading these books back to back, okay? And I've been watching some theory videos, and everybody's speculating that Euron is gonna be this eldritch, Lovecraftian, god entity reincarnation, whatever. Right? He's gonna bring the apocalypse, and the dude's barely in the books. For 3 books, he is barely mentioned. He pops up for when the election of the new king happens, right? On the Iron Islands, and then he disappears again, and we barely hear anything from him. We don't get to see him up close again, and it's strange because this is the thing with George and how he writes certain elements that are important. Euron is one example. He is mentioned here and there, he's hyped up, he pops up for a quick second, and then he disappears again. The same thing with Bloodraven. You know, for 3 books, Bran try to find them, he finds them, they exchange like 2 or 3 sentences, and that's it. Here's Bloodraven, we're finally here, and it's over. Right? The same thing with the surviving children of the forest. Really interesting stuff. Barely a couple of sentences from them, which is peculiar, you know. very important aspects of this story are these, let's call them legendary characters that are mysterious and they are barely touched upon. I was expecting some serious revelations from the Children of the Forest and from Bloodraven, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all. Bran is given some weirwood paste. Some argue that it is Jojen paste. I don't know. But to me, there should have been some serious revelations going on. And I mean not the major ones, but a little bit. Just a little bit of a release of information. You know, we finally found this guy, and we actually found Children of the Forest, and there's not a lot there. The exact same thing happened with Euron. This guy was hyped up for like 3 books, right? He finally shows up. He is kind of interesting, kind of peculiar, and then he leaves again, right? And we don't get really anything from his side, not really. I mean, it is unfortunate. It's a bit disappointing, right? Now, I'm gonna have to really get into the meat. I'm really gonna have to go into the meat of this book and tell you what I'm kind of sick and tired of. And I'm sick and tired of 2 major things. One is Dany's um, Free Cities Marine slavery plotline, and the other is Jon Snow at the Wall. And I'm gonna go into detail here. Let's start with Dany. Okay, to me, Dany, she's never gonna get to Westeros. That much is obvious because she is lingering here. She's losing people. This battle against slavery in Yunkai and Astapor and Korth and all these free cities, it's never gonna stop because this is an ancient tradition. Horrible as it is, it keeps the economy afloat. These people don't know anything except slavery, and it's never gonna stop, right? And this is a major problem with Dany's plotline. She is trapped in the mud, in the quicksand of this plotline, and she cannot stay afloat, right? To me, there is no way for her to resolve this, especially not peacefully, right? Especially not peacefully. The minute she tries to like better something, stop the fights, etc., etc., try to convince these people that maybe slavery ain't that good, cause uh, shit goes out of hand. You know, the Sons of the Harpy, they're everywhere. Who is this? Is this just a person, or is this just the kind of V for Vendetta type of deal where somebody puts on the mask and then there we are Legion, basically, right? Because it is alleged that maybe Selmy says that it may be Hisdar, Dany's new husband king in Marine, but who knows? So this is a major problem with Dany's character and her plotline. We've been in the free cities for a long time. It seems to me that Dany will not arrive at Westeros. And this is just my sort of mindset outlook. These three cities, these free cities will never accept her. And I mean uh, uh, the slavers, the oligarchs, the people that run the show. They will never accept her. And that has been proven time and time and again. So the only way to resolve this is, of course, fire and blood. Unfortunately, violence is the only way that she can resolve this. If it were me, I'd hop on my dragons and I'd go to every city and burn their pyramids to the ground. Right? That is the only way you can solve this problem. But of course, we cannot have Dany go Mad Queen, uh, homicidal maniac in the books like she went in the show. So that is the only way that this can be resolved. That all of these people that are horrible and they support this so-called tradition of theirs, which is slavery, they will never accept any alternative because they have gotten extremely rich by exploiting people, right? So the only way is to get rid of them. That is obvious to me. There is no compromise here. There is no room for negotiations. Their mindset is either, you know, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do, this case being Marine and the free cities, or if you don't like what we're doing here, then you can just leave. Okay? But of course, Dany cannot leave because she has some sort of, I don't know, duty, or she feels responsible for these people because they call her mother or whatever, right? So the Marine and the free cities and the slavery plot lines, which keep Dany from going to Westeros, even if she comes back from the Dothraki grass sea, um, I don't know how this can be resolved. I don't see no solution to it. It keeps her from progressing to her real goal of becoming queen of the seven kingdoms. And some speculate that George kind of is in checkmate because of this plot line and others. Okay, so the only option she has is fire and blood. There is no compromise here. These people will not compromise, and she needs to do what needs to be done. Okay, now moving on to Jon Snow, the exact same thing with Dany. Jon Snow suffers from the same illness, which is he is trapped at the wall at the Night's Watch. He is not progressing. Let me say it like this. I'm tired of Jon Snow now that he is Lord Commander. I'm tired of him, doing inventory of the food stock. I'm tired of him trying to prevent people from his people from fighting the wildlings, from preventing the wildlings from attacking the Night's Watch. The same thing that Dany has to struggle with the Sons of the Harpy attacking free slaves. I'm tired of it. It's time to move on. Jon's making schemes. He's making plans. He sent Gilly and Sam away with Mance Rayder's real baby. Now we find out that the Mance Rayder that got burnt by Melisandre and Stannis, it turns out that was Rattleshirt, and the real Mance is glamored as Rattleshirt, and he is sent on a mission to find Arya. But because Melisandre has a prophecy, she says that maybe Arya will come on a white horse or a gray horse, and then it turns out to be some Karstark girl, and this plotline is just a waste of time. Jon marries her to some wildling dude. It's pointless. I don't understand what this is about. Maybe it's George's way of establishing a relationship between the Starks and Karstarks with Jon, because as we know, Robb cut off the head of a Karstark because he killed two Lannister boys way back in book one. But anyway, this is about Jon. He is trying to negotiate. He is trying to find a way for his people and the wildlings to come to an understanding. It kind of fails. It seems like even though they're a bit rough around the edges, it seems like the free folk, the wildlings, are a bit more level-headed in a way. The Night's Watch people, they just know one thing, and that is the wildlings are bad people. Fuck them, they should die. But despite all of the advice and suggestions and outright complaints to Jon that his decision is a mistake of letting in the wildlings, he does it anyway. And the minute he does that, we can all see that all of his top people, uh, high-ranking officers in the Night's Watch, don't agree with his decision regarding the wildlings. This is obvious. Time and again, people like Bowen Marsh and all of the others voice their concerns, and Jon just sends them away, which is a problem. And I think it's hilarious now that the wildlings are slowly becoming crows themselves. They are manning the Night's Watch, they are manning the wall, and of course, the crows, they don't like it, right? Now, of course, we have the pink letter. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know who wrote the pink letter. I've watched a lot of theory videos. I don't know who it is. It is very interesting. Very interesting. There are a decent number of suspects, ranging from Melisandre, Stannis, Mance Rayder himself, which might be Arthur Dayne, Selyse Baratheon, you know, officers from the Night's Watch, Tormund, and who knows who else. So we have a lot of candidates, all have reasons. It's probably not Ramsay Bolton himself who wrote this letter, obviously, because there are contradictions. There is some knowledge that Ramsay shouldn't know about, right? What I can tell you is that after rereading the last couple of pages before Jon gets assassinated, it is obvious that the way George wrote it, the people that are there and who aren't there when he makes his speech to go to Winterfell to fight Ramsay, it's obvious that a lot of people are involved in this conspiracy, right? Because the initial idea was for them to go to Hardhome. The initial idea was for them to go to Hardhome and save the wildlings because whatever. But then the pink letter arrived and Jon's plans changed. Now he wants to go to Winterfell and he's gonna bring a couple of wildlings along. Now, during that speech he makes with Tormund, we can see that, for example, we can see that some of his brothers in the Night's Watch are a bit uneased by his statements. And then we see a couple of Selyse Baratheon's men shaking their heads, and then they leave during the speech, of course. And then Melisandre shows up, and then she leaves as well, right? So there are a lot of people that are involved in this conspiracy, and they might not be in this together. What I'm trying to say is that there might be multiple groups conspiring by themselves to get rid of Jon. They might not be just one group bunched together, right? There might be a couple of groups here that wanted Jon gone. the officers in the Night's Watch, Celise and her people, some of the wildlings maybe, who knows. But here's the thing, like, I was shocked how John's assassination happened in the book, because it is so different from what happened in the show. Like, listen, in the book, the way it goes down is unbelievable, right? So John has decided to go to Winterfell, and he leaves Tormund in charge of the assault. I mean, the rescue at Hardhome. So John's gonna go to Winterfell with some people. As he leaves the hall, he says, I'm gonna talk to Celise because he wants to tell her personally that, from the letter received from allegedly Ramsay, Stannis has been defeated and killed. And then he says that he wants to talk to Melisandre as well. And then something happens. The giant 1-1 gets attacked by one of Celise Baratheon's people, a knight, right? So John rushes in. It seems like 1-1 killed the knight, and he is ripping the knight apart. And it seems like the giant has been wounded as well. John tries to calm down the giant. People are swarming in. And this is what really caught my attention, is that, of course, this is some sort of diversion, some sort of way of attracting John for him to be killed, of course. But what shocked me is that there are a lot of people around present when this happens, right? So if this was bait to lure John away from his loyal people, it failed miserably because 1-1 screams and everybody hears it. Of course, the knight was sent to antagonize the giant to lure John. But a lot of people showed up. And I mean peoples from the Night's Watch, free folk, Celise Baratheon's people. A lot of people show up. So there are plenty of witnesses. Oh, okay, and I hope that not all of them are in this conspiracy, right? There's no way that all of these people are conspiring against John. So a lot of these witnesses will stand by his side when he comes back. So John is trying to calm down the giant. He turns around. A brother of his from the Night's Watch throws a knife at him. He dodges. He keeps on dodging, and then he gets stabbed. Right? He falls to his knees. He gets stabbed between the shoulder blades, and then he falls face first in the snow. So in the show, he fell on his back, but in the books, he falls face first in the snow. And then he gets stabbed again he gets stabbed at least 4 times, but he doesn't feel the last blow. He only feels the cold. Right? So there are potentially hundreds of people that saw Jon Snow get executed or assassinated, and it will be interesting to see who stays loyal, right? Because I hope that not all of these people wanted him dead, because that would be a shame, right? But here's a little problem with Jon Snow. There have been theories going around, people like Order of the Green Hand. They say that it wasn't Jon that got assassinated. And what do I mean by that? Well, you know, apparently there is evidence to support the claim that it wasn't Jon that got assassinated. It might have been Tormund, or maybe Mance Rayder, I forget who, and they were glamored, probably by Melisandre, to look like Jon. So apparently they switched they switched Tormund with Jon, and vice versa, right? So it was Tormund or Mance who got assassinated because of Melisandre's glamoring, right? Because before this, a couple of chapters back, we find out, like I said, that Mance Rayder was glamored to look like Rattleshirt by Melisandre, right? And I'm gonna tell you this: I'm not a fan of this theory. I don't like glamoring. I don't like I don't like it because this moment, Jon being betrayed and killed by his own people, is of the highest significance possible. Okay? This is the moment, the pivotal moment where Jon Snow has to change for the better or for the worse. This is the moment where he has to develop as a character one way or the other. When he gets resurrected, he will be a different kind of person, a different kind of animal. You know, like Master Aemon said, he will have to kill the boy and let the man be born, right? And I speculate that, not the man will be born, but maybe a monster will be born, right? Because there is, of course, another theory that maybe the others will steal Jon's body, etc. But let's get back to this significant moment. If it turns out that Jon Snow wasn't the one killed, that it was Tormund or whoever, this is a missed opportunity because Jon Snow tried his best to help both sides. He tried to bring the crows and the free folk together. He tried to compromise. He tried to do what's best, and he was betrayed. He tried to do what's right, right? And this betrayal, after working so hard, etc., it should have an impact on Jon. He should become, when he gets resurrected, he should become something else, something bizarre and eerie. Like in the show, when he gets resurrected, you know, nothing really happens. He just becomes a blander character. So in the books, I hope that it turns out that he was indeed betrayed, he was indeed killed, and when he gets resurrected, I want him to be a different kind of animal. His resurrection, his murder and resurrection are the most important aspects of his character. It should have a tremendous impact on him. When he comes back, he should be different. He should be not so naive. Listen, this is my, like, he should, when Jon Snow comes back, he should be scary in a supernatural, mysterious sense. What do I mean by that? When he is brought back, he should speak. He shouldn't speak at all. He should he should intimidate everybody, free folk included, because like in the show, they should view him as some sort of god of death or some sort of, I don't know, different kind of monster. Like he should be emotionless. He should have a poker face. He should really scare people, just like Tywin did, just like Roose and Ramsay do. But the difference is that he should just be in a room, saying nothing, just looking without blinking, and his vibe, like his vibe alone should unease people, right? Because he just came back from the dead. He saw the abyss. He got betrayed by the people he tried to protect, and he should be, a variation of Lady Stoneheart, but even more scary in a sense. He should be like a boogeyman, basically. He should have, the traits of others, meaning that the cold should not affect him. He should be he should be at home in the darkness, and he should also have some of the traits of his direwolf ghost, meaning that he shouldn't make a noise, he shouldn't eat. Uh, I mean, he shouldn't speak, he shouldn't make any noises, and he should be always in the shadows, right? And other characteristics of the others should be that he should not need to eat, he should not need to drink, he should not need to sleep. Basically, he should become like a abomination at the wall. He should be like a ghost, or like some sort of mythological entity. Like he should haunt the wall, and everybody should be terrified of him, right? Because people like Roose and Ramsey, they intimidate and dominate people with violence, with the promise of violence, by making threats, by Tywin intimidated people by his ruthlessness, that he only had to remind people of the reigns of Castamere and people would shit themselves. But in Jon Snow's case, he should be otherworldly. He at least for a while should no longer be human or completely human. He should, you know, I just pictured this scene. You know, let's say that Stannis comes back to the Night's Watch, and he hears what happened to Jon. So he goes to his room, he opens the door, and there is Jon Snow in total darkness, maybe a little fire over there, but overall it's darkness. And he doesn't blink, his eyes are this bluish gray, right? He doesn't say a word, he just stares. That should be a crucial characteristic of his after his resurrection. He should just stare at you into your soul and not say a word, right? So Stannis comes in and he just looks at Jon in the darkness, and and Stannis should be terrified. Melisandre should be terrified. Jon should be a different kind of animal, right? He should be like an other, but not all the way, not like Cold Hands, right? He should be something unique and extremely, extremely terrifying. Like a boogeyman. You see him in the shadows. He's not gonna hurt you, but the fact that he is there, and you know that he came from the dead, and you can see that this guy is not human anymore, that should terrify a lot of people. I have a serious problem with these things. Um, Glamoring, baby swapping, time travel, and even the magic of the faceless men, their magic with the faces. All of these things are an issue. And let me tell you why. Because things exist, because these things exist, you know, time travel to a lesser extent, but because these things exist, they pose a serious problem, right? Because, if you've read the books, one theme in particular is about identity and losing your identity and so on. But now, because glamoring and baby swapping and faceless men magic Because these things exist, they pose a serious issue. Because whenever something major happens to a character in these books, you have to consider the prospect that they might have been glamored with somebody else, they might have been swapped with somebody else. The Faceless Man might have done some fucking face magic and replaced them with somebody, right? So, because these things exist, they pose the possibility that whenever something major happened in these books, those people might have been somebody else. So, did Rhaegar really die, or was it somebody else? Did he really kidnap Lyanna, or was it somebody else? Was Lyanna really kidnapped, or was it somebody else? Was King Aerys, the Mad King, really him, or was he swapped somehow at Duskendale? Right? Is you get what I'm trying to say here, right? Was Ned Stark really beheaded, or was it somebody else? Because glamoring or faceless men magic or whatever or time travel, I don't know. So because these things exist, they pose a serious problem to everything basically. Everything now is is questionable and suspicious because these things exist. And that is not good in my opinion because you cannot trust anything that you read in in these books. Not one because glamoring, swapping, time travel or faceless men magic, right? It's unfortunate, right? Every time a significant character either dies or does something stupid or you get what I'm trying to say here. All the major actions that take hold that happen in these books are now under scrutiny. They cannot be trusted. They should be suspected because those people might have been glamored, they might have been swapped with somebody else. The faceless men might have been there with the faces of these characters, making all the right moves, right? So we don't really know, but they are an issue, and even time traveling, it is depicted in the show, uh, not as much in the books, but if it does happen in the books, I don't know how to feel about this. Don't get me wrong, they're cool in of themselves, but because they simply exist, they pose a serious issue to the narrative because you cannot trust anything or anybody anymore, right? Everybody of any importance might have been swapped with somebody else. Anybody of importance might have been glamored, right? Bran might have manipulated the timeline, or the faceless men are everywhere and they're wearing the faces of our beloved characters, right? It's a sort of paradox. What else? I was expecting a lot from Tyrion. I was expecting a lot of Tyrion. Um, of course, he was a slave. He is in the free cities. Then he joins the Golden Company, and there's also young Griff. Now, uh, I'll say this: Tyrion becomes mad funny when he becomes a slave. I mean, his comebacks are hilarious, but his plotline also suffers from the same kind of illness that Danny and John have to deal with. I'm tired of him playing Syvas. I'm tired of him just walking from place to place with Penny and Jorah Mormont. He needs to make some moves. He needs to do something. Okay, I get it that he's depressed because of his father and his brother, whatever, right? You know, if he does meet Danny, you know, I hope he, even though he becomes Hand of the Queen, I hope that he does so, he accepts with bad intentions. What do I mean by this? I hope that Tyrion becomes the sort of Joker of this world. I hope that he has nothing but bad intentions, and I hope that he just wants to see the world burn. You know, I don't think that he can be saved as a good guy. He is no longer the Tyrion that we knew, right? Because of the betrayal of his family, he is a bitter person now. And this should, you know, this negativity of his should continue to grow and aggravate, and he should become a truly terrifying person. I mean, he should be a major, major force to be reckoned with, and people are still making fun of him because he's a dwarf, right? I mean, they don't know with whom they're messing with, right? And I think somewhere even Mokoro, the Red Priest, says what Maester Aemon says, that we have a giant among us, that he has a big shadow, right? So of course there's something to Tyrion that most people can't see, and I hope that he becomes a force to be reckoned with. I don't want him to be a nice guy. I don't want him to be a dummy like he turned out to be in the show. You know, some speculate that Euron is the new antagonist, that he will become this fucking apocalyptic antichrist, but you know, my bet is on Tyrion. I hope that Tyrion becomes this master manipulator that manipulates people and empires for the sake of fun. He wants to fuck with people, and he wants to see the world burn. Why? Because the world, despite his good intentions, treated him like he was less than dirt, right? So that's what needs to happen with Tyrion's plotline. So that's about it, really. I don't know that if we're gonna get Winds of Winter someday. Uh, it looks like Winds is not George's main priority right now. Uh, you know, and it is disappointing because we just want to know, you know, what happens next. My thing is that I just want to know what happens to Jon. I want to see him get resurrected, and I want to see the changes that happen in his character. Right. So I'm gonna end it with this. I saw a video a couple of months ago, and it was about how many deadlines did George R. Martin miss. Right. And at the end of the video, this guy said that there is no way that George can wrap things up in 7 books. It is impossible, and he made the estimation that it would take about 11 books for him to write things off nicely that would satisfy the fans, the readers, right? And that's just not gonna happen, of course. And it makes sense to me because there is no way that George can really wrap things up with 2 books, unless these 2 books have like 5 volumes each, and each volume has 1,000 pages. There is no way that he can really wrap things up because the others aren't even here. And the way things are going, to me, it would make sense that the Long Night would happen by the end of Winds of Winter because there is so much unfinished business, right? So even in the Winds of Winter, The long night should come at the end because there's too much unfinished business. But that's about it. That was A Dance with Dragons. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it kept me going. I wanted to know what happened next, and you know, there's a lot here that is amazing, and there is a lot of stuff that is just forgettable. But I do recommend this book to people who haven't read them yet, because there are a few things here that the show obviously removed, and they should be read because I read them to find out some more details about the characters and the histories and such, right? I'm gonna, we've all read the new update by George, and it seems like he's doing all of these projects, all of these side quests. He's got like a million shows, and he's writing these miscellaneous books about world building and histories. Listen, I've always hated when an author, you know, an author when an author gets success, and then we got all sorts of miscellaneous things that happen but at the side, right? All we care about is the main story. That's all we care about. And this is a piece of advice to other authors: finish your damn book, your main story, and then you can write all the nonsense miscellaneous side stuff and world building and history books afterwards. And let me tell you, not a lot of people are going to read them, but just finish your damn book first. And then you can write and produce whatever you want about whatever, right? So thanks for watching. See ya.